This man is Richard Francis Burton. In 1842, he was expelled from the University of Oxford. There are no regrets. In 1853, disguised as a darwash, a Persian wanderer, Richard Burton turned his back on the Victorian establishment that had tried to suffocate him. In the Indian Army, he had sought new horizons, new challenges. Now here, in the deserts of Arabia, in the land of Islam, his career as an adventurer began.
Little islands are all large prisons. One cannot look at the sea without wishing for the wings of a swallow to cross unknown lands where no man has ever been. Around me lie drifted sand heaps, upon which each puff of wind leaves its trace in solid waves, flayed rocks, the very skeletons of mountains and hard, unbroken plains. In the desert, even more than upon the ocean, there is present death. Hardship is there, and piracies, and shipwreck, solitary, not in crowds, where, as the Persians say, death is a festival.
If death was a festival, Burton would not have it otherwise. The white Arab, as his fellow officers called him with contempt, preferred to live with the natives he was meant to subdue. Concealed in this caravan of pilgrims, Burton was risking his life in order to enter the forbidden city of Mecca, forbidden to everyone except the children of Muhammad. No white man had ever been allowed to enter and leave alive. Undetected, he arrived at Mecca and the Grand Mosque. The pilgrimage was almost over, except for the final achievement.
I am there, within the Kaaba itself, the navel of the world set in the mother of cities. I will not deny, considering who I am, that my feelings are those of the trapped rat. I have no need to be reminded that 10 years before, a non-Muslim had been crucified for attempting less. Nevertheless, having journeyed so far undetected, I may truly say that of all the worshippers who cling weeping to the stone, none feel for the moment a deeper emotion than does this Haji from the far north. But to confess humbling truth, theirs is the high feeling of religious enthusiasm. Mine is the ecstasy of gratified pride.
But gratified pride did not eliminate common sense, and Burton returned to Egypt without delay. During his 6 days at Mecca, he had measured and sketched every important shrine and taken enough notes to fill 3 volumes. His book, Pilgrimage to Al-Medina and Mecca, would soon make him famous. But he was in no hurry to return to Cairo and civilization. If he had to risk the penalties of his disguise, there seemed no reason why he should not indulge in the pleasures.
say that a white infidel who entered Mecca, who walked 7 times within its walls, should be killed? Ayamanzo e shome anaske, kafer sefti pustike, varade moka shoribud, ala yisti koshti shava.
آره سرور من.
Would you say that if a white infidel had done this, then Mohammed is blind?
Two months after leaving Mecca, Burton crossed the Nile. The greatest challenge of all now lay before him. For 2,000 years, the dream of every wanderer had been to unravel the mystery of the Nile. Where was the source of so great a river that could flow constantly over 1,000 miles through scorching deserts without need of a single tributary or a single drop of rain? The secret lay buried somewhere in the unknown stretches of Central Africa. This was the greatest mystery of the Victorian age. Yet in Cairo, the Nile made little impact on Burton. His attitude appeared to be one of total indifference. At least so it seemed to his fellow officers.
It's a magnificent river, isn't it?
So the Egyptians believed, but it's a muddy divinity to me. It's like India all over again. Same morning mists and noontide glare. Same hot wind, the same turbid waters.
When I was in London, there was talk of sending an expedition to find the source of the river. It seemed a mad enough idea to interest you.
I don't think so. I have my Mecca book to finish. Anyway, if they want to find the source, why don't they just start at the Mediterranean, sail south through the Sud until they reach it?
Impossible, apparently. It's been tried. The Sud is quite impenetrable. One cannot pass through those swamps. No, the only way is by foot, starting somewhere in Central Africa and marching northwest.
That would be a long walk.
No one's ever done it. No one at all. I was talking to a German last week, missionary. Johann Krupf, his name was. Told me that they were thinking of sending an expedition there to look for the White Nile and the Mountains of the Moon. It's the prize, you see, Burton. The glory of it all. Man who finds the source of the Nile will be treated like a god. Statues everywhere.
No, Saunders. I've got other plans. Let someone else try. There must be someone besides the Germans.
Oh, yes, there is. Livingstone.
Livingston's not interested in the Nile, Saunders. It's souls he's after. Little black Episcopalian souls. Hundreds of thousands of little black souls, all raising their faces to the treetops.
In 1853, David Livingstone was over 3,000 miles to the south, in the Transvaal, in southern Africa. A lone white man in the heart of the dark continent. Whatever the ambitions of other men, Livingstone had committed himself to one single and dedicated purpose.
There is a glorious future for our world. There must be. When I preach the gospel to a tribe which has long sat in darkness, the signs of the coming of light are displayed. For the children of the devil dwelling in fear need a healer. May God enable me to be such to them. Better Anya. Do you remember a green hill far away? Let's have it now. There is a green hill far away without a city wall. Right? All together. There is a green hill far away without a city wall, where our dear Lord was crucified. crucified, who died to save us all.
I wish only that the gospel may be preached and believed in all this dark region. I shall open up a path into the interior or perish.
Returning to Europe after his years in the East, Burton, with characteristic disdain, refused to be lionized by London society and chose instead to stay in the small French port of Boulogne, a refuge for impoverished English gentry. It was a quiet and boring interlude, except for a brief meeting with a remarkable young woman who was residing in the town with her mother and sister. Her name was Isabel Arundel.
That man will marry me.
I'm so glad you could come, Richard. The season in Boulogne must be fearfully boring for you.
It is. I can't tolerate this European effeminacy. That girl also appears not to belong in this cage, Louisa.
Isabel? Well, then you must take her away from it.
I like her nose. A woman with a nose like that could never be vain.
Lieutenant Burton, I understand you've just come back from the East. We've all heard so much about those magnificent sunsets and the Taj Mahal and the curious habits of the natives. You really must tell us about it.
But of course. For example, madam, did you know that the Arab male urinates in a crouching position, just as you do?
Louisa, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, bringing that creature here. The stories I've heard about him from Laker are disgusting enough.
Well, then you really must stop repeating them, Mrs. Arundel.
Will you dance with me, Miss Arundel? I must warn you, however, that I've just been banned from your mother's sewing circle.
Oh, please. You must not allow Mamma to upset you. She has lost many children in her life, and now she's afraid of losing me.
Are you going to enter a convent?
I want to see the world, not hide from it. My sister and I are not allowed to do anything here. Oh, I do so long to travel. I long to be with the gypsies, with the Bedouin, with everything East, mystical. Do you hope to stay long in Boulogne, Lieutenant Burton?
I sail for Aden next week. It's the least I can do for the English. I embarrass them when I am amongst them, and feed them scandal when I am not. Do I embarrass you? Most people here, in England, in Europe, know nothing of the East. That, Miss Arundel, is the tragedy. They condemn me because I live like the Arab and speak his language. If only more would do so, then there might be some hope. The white man settles and invades a country as if he were moving from one identical room to the next. It is not the Muslim who is in peril, but ourselves. One day there will be an uprising in India that will shake the empire. And the ostriches in London will merely dig a little deeper into the sand. Good day, Miss Arundel.
Lieutenant Burton. It is my duty to ask you a question. What are your intentions with regard to my daughter?
Alas, madam, strictly dishonorable.
It is the night of nights. I know that I have met the star of my destiny. It is just as the fortune teller had predicted. Your life is all wandering, change, adventure. One soul in two bodies never far apart, in life or death. I wish I were a man. If I were, I would be Richard Burton. But as I am a woman, I would be Richard Burton's wife.
Monogamy, polygamy, and polyandry is a question of geography, not morals. Take these Somali Bedouins whom we are about to meet. They sleep, eat, and walk in a temperature of 100 degrees. In such a situation, it's not difficult to understand why they are so preoccupied with their bodies and degrade the mind to mere cunning. You know they practice infibulation on their women and clitoridectomy. None of them would marry a girl unpurified by it. I'm told it breeds licentiousness and debauchery and a taste for artificial stimulants.
Now I know why you're so eager to go there.
Somalia is only the threshold of what I seek.
What are you seeking, Burton?
Gentlemen, I want to be the first man to discover the source of the Nile. Someone will within the next decade, I am sure. And it must be me. But think of it. The longest river in the world, not some stream. Not some unknown backwater, but the longest river in the world, and no one knows where it begins. Perhaps 3,000, perhaps 4,000 miles long. And where is it born? The greatest men in history, Alexander, Caesar, Ptolemy, have all failed and have left us only with legends, myths. Some say that the river springs from two great fountains. The Arabs believe it enters the world through snow-covered mountains of crystal. Ptolemy claimed the true source to be two enormous lakes. This river is like a ghost, with no beginning, appearing out of thin air. And yet fish swim in it, boats sail on it, and the water flows. Why then can the source not be found? Why have so many men since the dawn of civilization died looking for it? Surely that is the greatest mystery of our age. Everything else we do, wherever we travel, is superfluous.
Richard, this is Lieutenant John Speak. Speak, this is Lieutenant Burton and Lieutenant William Stryon.
What's the matter, Speak? Have you no tongue?
I'm sorry, sir. I was thinking about what you said. About the Nile.
Put the thought aside. Our mission is Somalia.
Yes, sir. Do sit down. What regiment are you in, Speak?
46th, Bengal Native Infantry. I must say I'm enormously flattered that you agreed to let me join your expedition. As you know, the Colonel wouldn't let me go on my own.
What did you do in India?
Explored a part of the Himalayas. And I hunted.
Hunted what?
Anything.
Yes, but what?
I shot many different species.
What different species?
Different species of birds, some of them quite rare, animals. I spent a month in Tibet tracking...
What did you do with these species when you shot them? Eat them?
I sent them home to my mother. My parents have a natural history museum. Don't you know?
No, we don't know.
Well,
Cigar?
I don't touch tobacco.
No vices, then, Speak.
أيها الكرام مستعدين لكم العشاء إن طلبتم.
شكرا ونحن مستعدين. Do you know Arabic at all?
I'm afraid not. I speak a little Hindustani, but that's all. I was never a linguist.
May I suggest you try to be? Instead of massacring all the wildlife?
I have never felt it necessary to converse with the natives.
You would do well to give the natives an opportunity to converse with you.
I take your point.
Well, good hunting, Lieutenant.
Would I sacrifice anything and everything for Richard? The only thing I could not sacrifice for him is God. Everything else but renounce that. But it is a foolish thought. No doubt he thinks nothing of me. He will go one way in life, and I another. And who knows if we shall ever meet again?
In 1855, Lieutenants Burton, Speke, Hearn, and Stroyan sailed in an Arab dhow across the Gulf of Aden to Somalia on the Horn of Africa. Burton's immediate aim was to lead the expedition inland from the coastal town of Berbera. Then they would march south through the unexplored hinterland and, perhaps, reach the source of the Nile. Outside Berbera, they made camp and waited for further supplies from England before venturing inland. Following Muslim tradition, Burton had included, with his luggage, his own burial shroud. The garment was almost needed.
Stroyan. Sir? Post a sentry at each end of the camp. 4-hour watches. And see that those donkeys are tethered properly.
Yes, sir. You! Up there on the hill. You! Over there, by the sea.
Only 2 sentries, sir.
Only 2 sentries. Speak.
We're in alien territory, sir, and there have been rumors.
What rumors?
Rumors that we're spies for the government. We're out to destroy the local slave trade. It's odd that you haven't heard them.
Ural, Hubble! Ural! Speak, there are only 2 sentries we can trust. Look, no Englishman has been attacked in Berbera in 30 years. It will not change now.
Burton's confidence in the safety of Englishmen was misplaced. The local Somali chiefs were indeed hostile.
You professed great interest in the Nile. Tell me what you know about it. Strictly as an amateur.
I don't know what you mean by amateur, sir.
It's a phrase, Speak. That's all. You must not get so distressed about everything I say.
I'm sorry. I suppose I'm rather apprehensive. I meant no offense.
I know that. Now, tell me what you know.
Well, Ptolemy's theory that two great lakes are the source strikes me as being the most plausible. A river of such length and power would need great reservoirs of water. It is a theory, I know, and not new.
But plausible. Until we look at the map of Africa and find not one single lake in the center. How do you explain that?
Well, it only means there's no lake on the map. It doesn't mean that there aren't any lakes. They haven't been discovered, that's all.
Well, Speak. You may be an amateur explorer, but you have the professional's common sense.
Thank you, sir.
Nani nyinyi? Simameni. Simameni! Simameni!
Stroyan, come with me. Wait here. Leave this to me.
What did they want?
They're harmless. They're looking for their enemy, Shemarke. I told them he wasn't here and invited them to stay and eat with us.
Sir, how do you know they're speaking the truth? We all know lying is second nature to these people. How do you know they're harmless? With respect, sir, this is not Brighton.
Thank God for that. You will notice that there are only 3 of them. What harm can they do?
Well, they may well be waiting for others.
Perhaps. But while they are here, they cannot tell those others anything about us. Can they?
Speak! Arm yourself! We've been betrayed! mistake! Don't run back, or they'll think we're all retreating!
I was not running back!
Where are the guards?
They ran away.
Damn them! Where's Stroyan?
We went towards the animals.
Gordon!
The affray had lasted only 5 minutes. Stroyan was dead. Hearn had escaped, Burton was severely wounded, and Speke had been taken captive. While the victorious Somalis plundered the camp, Speke was forced to watch the burning of his own equipment.
Stroyan's dead.
I know.
Burton?
Wounded, but he'll be all right. Come on, we'll get you back to the boat. For as much as it hath pleased Almighty God, of his great mercy, to take unto himself the soul of our dear brother here departed, we therefore commit his body to the deep, to be turned into corruption.
Whatever the reasons for the failure at Berbera, this incident was to have disastrous consequences for Speke and Burton. Their first step towards the Nile had become a sinister omen. Speke felt he had been branded as a coward. He was never to forgive Burton that accusation. Burton, too, had been wounded. But though the ugly scar would mark his face for life, he soon forgot the whole episode. The search for the source of the Nile was all that mattered.
Isabel! Isabel! Oh, Isabel! Isabel! Richard's back in London. He arrived last night. Look! Look!
Where
Here,
is it?
here. Lieutenant Richard Burton, who arrived in London yesterday evening after leaving hospital in Aden.
Hospital?
where
What happened?
He was wounded in the face.
Oh. Oh, why did he never write and tell me?
But Isabel, he's here.
Will he ever see me? He doesn't know where I am. He doesn't even know where I live. What will my life be if I'm alone, Blanche? I cannot marry any of the insignificant beings around me. We women simply are born and marry and die. Why, with brains, spirits, and energies, must we merely exist on household accounts? It makes me sick. I have no vocation to be a nun. And yet... oh, where are all the men who once inspired grand passions? Is the race extinct? Is Richard the last of them? If Richard and I never marry, God will cause us to meet in the next world. For we cannot be parted. We belong to one another.
But it seemed unlikely that Isabel would meet Burton, either in the next world or this. He made no attempt to see her, or even write to her, since that brief interlude in Boulogne. Burton's thoughts now centered on one thing only, one obsession above all. He had been invited by the president of the Royal Geographical Society, Sir Roderick Murchison, to lead an expedition to Central Africa, to find the Nile.
This is Central Africa, gentlemen, as we know it now. This latest map has been charted by the two missionaries, Erhard and Rebmann. And as you can see, the most interesting feature is this lake, Unyamezi, sometimes called Tanganyika. It's a lake 800 miles long and 300 wide.
It looks more like some gigantic slug than a lake.
This place that you can see here on the eastern shore of the lake is Ujiji. It's apparently the end of the slave caravan trail from Zanzibar. Estimated distance from the coast, 900 miles. And that, gentlemen, is about all we do know.
There doesn't seem to be any indication that the Nile does start there.
None. I fear we're no wiser than the ancient Egyptians. We think that this lake has sufficient altitude to be the source. But we must not forget that the men who drew this map were missionaries, not geographers. So there it is. The Nile is somewhere within this area of 500 miles. Not very helpful, I'm afraid, Richard.
If anything, sir, I would question the altitude of the lake. Missionaries tend to set their horizons rather higher than other men.
What is your theory, Burton?
I believe, like Ptolemy, there may be more than one lake in Central Africa, though I would still make my objective Tanganyika. I also believe that this may well be the source of the Nile. I know a 12th century map of Africa drawn by the Arab geographer Al-Idrisi that makes such a claim. Remember, sir, the Arab has been crossing Africa from coast to coast for centuries. If anyone knows the country, it is he.
You think you can complete this expedition in 2 years, Burton?
I don't know, but I'll try.
Good. Then the East India Company will arrange leave for you on full pay for 2 years.
Excellent. I shall start my preparations immediately. Good day, Sir Roderick. Good day, Colonel.
Oh, one moment, Richard. We've not yet discussed who shall accompany you.
Accompany me? But I thought I was going on my own.
Well, that's impossible, I'm afraid. There's too much at stake. If you're taken ill or something else happens to you, there must be another officer with you.
There was no one with me when I went to Mecca.
You'll know where Mecca is, Burton.
The choice of a companion must, of course, be yours.
Of course.
But if I may suggest someone, a fellow officer of yours, who regards you very highly.
You must be a fool. Who is he?
Lieutenant John Speke.
He was in Berbera with you, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
He's very anxious to get back to Africa. He's appealed to the Society 3 or 4 times with quite remarkable insistence. And his geographical qualifications are excellent.
I must have time to think about it.
Oh, of course, Richard, of course. You obviously know him better than we do.
I should do. He was with me in Somalia. But I find I know less and less about the man every day. Good day, gentlemen.
Lieutenant Burton, I've been waiting for you, sir.
I hear from Murchison that the amateur wishes to become the professional.
Well, it was you who gave me the encouragement. After all the hours we've spent discussing the Nile together, you can't possibly take anyone else.
I cannot give you an answer now, John. There are too many things to consider.
Of course. Give me this opportunity, sir. You won't regret it.
I'm sorry I cannot be more encouraging. I was looking for a more experienced man. Good day.
Excuse me, sir. Do you know if Sir Roderick's in his study?
Yes, I think he is.
Thank you.
England is the only country where I never feel at home, Louisa. I always return to my homeland hoping something might have changed. 2 days convinces me that it never will. Thank God there is something beyond the channel.
Oh, but Richard, why must you go so soon? We hardly see anything of you. I mean, we hardly see you at all.
Because if I don't go now, someone will discover the Nile before me. Livingstone is already in Africa.
But no one knows where he is.
He knows where he is. Now, if you will excuse me, I must return.
But Richard, you cannot go without meeting my cousin. She is waiting for us here.
Perhaps you could make my apologies, but I'm not in the mood for cousins. Is that your cousin there? The fair one with the complexion of a winter nun?
Please meet her, Richard. You have become a hero to her.
We have already met. But then you know that.
Come on. Isabel, what a surprise to see you.
Louisa.
Do you know Lieutenant Burton? Richard, this is Isabel Arundel and her sister Blanche.
Once again, how do you do, Miss Arundel? And Miss Arundel.
How do you do?
Are you often in these gardens, Miss Arundel?
Oh, yes. We come here every day to read between 11 and 1. It's so much nicer than studying in a hot room at this season.
And what are you studying?
It's Tancred, the book of my heart. Disraeli has inspired me with his ideas.
I never knew anyone studied Disraeli. But I like him. He has much in common with myself. Well, goodbye. It was nice to see you once again. Perhaps we will meet here more often.
Oh, we're always here. Every morning except Sundays when we go to Mass.
Good day, Miss Arundel.
Blanche, you shouldn't have said that. It sounded too forward.
Burton's fears that Livingstone's horizons might also be set on the Nile were well founded.
In all this country, there is not a single missionary station that can tell of a least success. As for me, I have opened and closed 3 already. And now I am recommended by certain natives who love me to give up preaching and praying, for that only bothers them, and become a trader. For even if I cheated them, they would much prefer the cheating to the praying.
Up we go. Let's have that. Oh, Toto. Oh, you the fine fellow.
Livingstone was still in southern Africa. He had come to believe that only civilization could bring Christianity. And if civilization was to succeed, it needed a man to pave the path into the unknown. It was a task he now accepted with eager humility.
Get the porter loaded, Schumer.
The great Kalahari lies to the north of me, and beyond that lie the fountains of the Nile. I fear the pull of that wilderness is proving stronger than any duty I may have to remain here. We are all engaged in very much the same cause. Geographers, missionaries, astronomers, all laboring to make men better acquainted with each other.
Lieutenant, speak, sir.
Thank you for coming. I wanted to talk to you. How are you?
Fully recovered?
No scars, I trust.
No, not really.
Oh, do sit down. I saw Murchison yesterday. He's just received a letter from Livingston. The doctor is planning to open up Africa from east to west. His aims do not include the Nile yet, but they will. You see, already the damn river is attracting the moths. Are you still a moth speaking?
Very much.
So am I. Now tell me this. Why do you think you, of all people, should accompany me to Africa?
I can't answer for all people, sir. I can only speak for myself. I feel I'm qualified to be an explorer. Qualified, perhaps, in matters of which you're ignorant.
Indeed. Then shed some light on my ignorance.
I don't wish to be impertinent.
You are, but go on.
Well, I could never equal your knowledge and understanding of the African. You speak his language, and if you don't, you'll learn it in a month. If the natives accept you as they will accept no other man. But finding the Nile is not just a march there and back. It must be more than that. We must study the vegetation and the rainfall. Lakes must be plumbed, mountains measured, trees, plants, animals, insects must be analyzed and recorded. Or we will return two ignorant men who might just as well have discovered the Nile's source in a bucket. And that is where I can be invaluable. The people will be your property, and the land will be mine.
Well, well, the lieutenant has found his voice. Anything else?
I also believe...
Yes.
Because of the personal losses I incurred at Berbera, you owe it to me to take me along.
Ha! Damn me, I suppose I do. Well, speak, I have already made up my mind and am prepared to take you with me.
Thank you.
Aside from your undoubted geographical qualifications, it's true that you suffered both in person at Berbera. Therefore, I feel it's only right to offer you another attempt at the Nile. Well, do you accept?
Yes, of course I do.
Then let us shake on that. Remember, it is honor, not honors, we are seeking. Honor for our country, not personal honor for ourselves. You understood what I said, Jack.
You underestimate me, sir.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some business to attend to. Oh, by the way, I should settle all your affairs now. We could be away for 2 years.
When do we leave?
Friday.
I did not realize you would leave so soon. But I must not be selfish and think of myself.
Isabel, we've been meeting here for weeks now. I've read your Disraeli, and you've shown me your horoscope. As you know, if I succeed in Africa, it will not only make me a very rich man, but also guarantee me a consulate. Perhaps Damascus. Will you marry me and go and live there? You need not answer now. It would mean a very serious step for you. Leaving your family and all that sickly civilization you're used to. I'm not a man to stay in England for long. Think it over. I'm sorry. I should not have asked.
I don't want to think it over. I've been thinking it over for 4 years, ever since I first saw you in Boulogne. I've prayed for you every day. I've followed all your career. I've read every word you ever wrote. I don't want to think it over. I shall answer now. Yes. Yes.
What of your parents? They will not give you to me.
I know that. I belong to myself. I shall give myself away. I've waited for this moment for so long. I suppose we could wait until you return from Africa.
Yes. Yes, perhaps that would be wiser. After all, I don't know the dangers involved, or how long the expedition would take.
I understand. Richard, will you wear this? It was blessed by the Cardinal. It may be of some help.
No, it's gold. They will cut my throat for that out there. I'd better not take it. I must go. I don't know if I'll see you again before I leave, but when I return. Goodbye, Isabel. Women. All over the world, women are what men make them, and yet they insist on anticipating our motives. The more I travel, the more I am convinced that only Mormons and the men of the East know the value of women. Either marry 5 at a time, or none at all. And if none at all, then it is wise to keep on the move. The chances of us both returning alive are almost nil, aren't they?
Of course, but we will. And we'll find the Nile.
Ready, sir?
All right, John, let's go and find it.
In the first week of October, 1856, Richard Burton and John Hanning Speke set out for Southampton and the boat for Africa. Unaided by any reliable maps, and guided only by fortune, perseverance, and the stars, the two men planned to walk for perhaps 2,000 miles through uncharted and hostile territory. Danger lay not only in the unknowns of the Dark Continent. Far greater dangers lay in the unknown conflicts between the men themselves. They were risking their lives, merely in the hope of finding the source of a river. But whatever tragedies would occur in the months ahead, the search for the Nile had begun.